down to.
Of course, there's nothing to say. And can't be overnight.
Overnight, yep.
All right, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First, I would like to congratulate Leah for being appointed as vice chair. Welcome. Would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Yes. Please stand up and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic, one nation.
Great. Okay. A few housekeeping matters before we begin. I know you've heard it once before. I got to say it again, just for. You haven't? I didn't say it before? I wasn't here. Oh, and you're going to hear the emergency exits are off to the side, right? There's also exits out in the back. The restrooms are in the lobby area. If you haven't done so already, please sign the attendance sheet. There's some business cards at the back table, along with the proposed resolution. However, we won't be able to make a decision tonight because it has to go to the county planning board. So we will be able to review again and hopefully make a decision on the 18th. If you haven't done so already, either silence or turn off your cell phones. And if you have conversations, I know you're a small group, so I got to say it anyway. If it doesn't relate specific to the presentation, please take it out in the hallway. If you have exhibits you want to refer to, Susie will be happy. Just let her know what it is you want us to look at. We'll get it up on the screen. If it's new, let us know that it's new so we can mark it accordingly. If you're using an exhibit, do your very best to use descriptive language. Compass directions are great. Structures are great. What's difficult is when, if you say things like, well, if you notice over here, or if you notice over there, it doesn't translate very well for our minutes. So Amber's over here, she's going to take our minutes, and when she listens, the here and over there, again, doesn't translate well. The other thing that we all would appreciate is let's not talk over each other. If you're speaking, we're not going to, unless it is really necessary, we're not going to talk over you. We may say, excuse me, something like that. Same thing for us. Don't talk over us so we can figure out who's saying what and when and where. Okay? Hopefully those are simple enough directions. If not, ask questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. All right, with that, next is approval of the July 21st, 2025 minutes. Hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to review them. I would entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Larry. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Leah. Is there any further discussion about those minutes before we hear yay or nay? Hearing none. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thanks so much. All right. The Bow Wow, are you here for that? Who's making the presentation? Come on up, so we can hear you. That would be great.
I'm Terry Shannon. I'm the broker that represented the building.
Okay.
Mr. Stewart is out of town. I know enough about the building and enough about the process that I'll do my best to answer any questions. I've seen the submittal. I'm aware of what was in the submittal. So Mario is the principal applicant here for Bow Wow.
Okay. All right, so anything you want to add or?
Want to be sure that you have the latest submittal. I think that was, was sent over last Wednesday or Thursday. which was I think it had to do with the sound transmission information.
Yep.
You got that? I think that was the only thing, right? That-
Updated layout.
On the updated floor plan, I don't know if was that sent over as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Great, so I want to be sure you have updated information.
Super. All right, so I will cut right to the chase. The information that Christian sent us regarding, and it starts off with, I'm not a sound engineer. You know what I'm referring to?
I do.
Okay. From an admissibility standpoint, it's inadmissible. Why? It's hearsay. We don't know where it came from, other than I Googled it. My grandkids could have Googled. I don't know what authority it is. So you got to let us know, other than you got it off the internet, because I think everyone in this room knows just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. So the next time I think you come in or Christian comes in, please let him know that we may consider this, but we need to know, where did you get the information from other than the internet? It'd be, for example, this is the site, this is the engineer that says this stuff, so at least we know who it is that said it and where did he get it from. All right, does that make sense?
Footnote,
Yeah.
like old-time writing.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
I got it.
What is your what is the authority? Where did
Right,
you get that
gotcha.
from? Okay? So we're going to put those
All right.
decimal readings off to the side a little bit.
Great.
All right, with that, let's go down the line and see if the board has any other questions. Leah, you have questions, comments?
Well, just first thing I want to clarify, on, there was another document that was submitted, started area variance considered for the proposed salon. And under item number 3, I think somebody wrote a typo where it says to the north, and it says 7245. I think you meant building 7249. Because when I looked at all the other attachments, there was no 7245. It was just 7249. So I just want to clarify that. And maybe we can put up, let me just get that reference. Yeah, it's under my map. It's the reference that's my map.
Is it the colored one?
Colored one,
It's
yes.
the colored one. The color photograph one.
Yeah,
That
that one. So it says, on this sheet, it says to the north, which is 7245, and here on the map, what I see to the north would be 7249. So I just want to clarify that that's a typo.
So a lot of these parcels will come with addresses that are 7245-27249. So it could be as simple
Okay.
as that. When you go to a tax map, the legal address may be something different than the address on the building, but
Okay.
we'll make note of that.
Okay. So then, just to clarify, the building that it's being referred to in that document is what shows on this My Map 7249? You know,
Gotcha.
just for, okay.
Right.
Okay, that's all. So what I wanted to ask or state, since there's no designation of the distance that the neighboring properties have to be from the fencing. But you mentioned, bear with me a second, because I wrote a note here. You mentioned that there were woods to the north between 7249 and 7235 and the railroad tracks, and not including the parking lot. But do you know the acreage of that property, where the woods are? It's again that,
When you're over there, we can't hear you, sir, just so you know.
Here,
Yes.
come- there's a laser pointer over there, so if you could stay at the microphone and then point, that would be helpful.
So,
yeah, that.
you're speaking of that,
Yes, where that little,
I got it.
it's like a little water pond.
right, so that is part and parcel to that whole 7249 as you referred to on the map. So I will make a note. You'd like to know what that acreage is?
What that acreage is, yeah.
Okay. I will make a note to that.
So even though the code doesn't say anything, what distance the building or the fenced area has to be with the neighboring property, but it would be good to know what that is.
I did a quick area and it was, I want to say it was just about an acre, just under an acre, just over an acre. I did it a while ago, and it was just kind of using Google Earth and outlining it just to
Right.
see what,
Okay,
it was close to 2 acres. That was kind of,
Okay.
that's kind of the buffer.
okay,
We can get a more definite.
yeah. Now, moving on to the actual building, footprint. So you have here 44 kennels for the long term, as my colleague pointed out to me, and then 10 for the day kennels.
No, 34 for long-term.
34, excuse me, 34 for the long term and 10 for the short term. Did you check with either like I don't want to say ASPCA, but some animal organization? What is required in a certain square footage of a building?
Per dog.
For
type of
dogs,
thing.
yeah.
There's nothing in New York that defines, there's no information
No.
in New York. It's terrible.
Can you do me a favor, just speak up a little bit or into the microphone?
All It's, I couldn't find anything for New York. Like some states require you to stay overnight. New York does not
No.
at all. So there's not in any of my findings. Could I find any information about square foot per dog? If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah, and in the fenced area, and let's just stick with the overnight kennel dogs. I know you said it's going to be open from 7 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., 1 hour for each group of dogs, and you're
Right.
going to rotate them. And so let's assume that there'll be 34 dogs, because that's the maximum.
absolutely.
May not be on any one day.
Worst case scenario, yeah.
But how many dogs will be out at one time in that area?
It would all depend on the nature of the dogs and the size of the dogs. I would guess if there's 15 small dogs, all the small dogs are gonna go out.
Okay,
If there's 10 big dogs go together, together. But that's over, 45 minutes to an hour in the morning, and at lunch, and then in the evening. Further potty breaks, exercise,
okay.
stuff like that.
So you're clarifying something. You weren't here last
Right.
time. The other individual is here, because he gave the impression that, or at least the way I understood it, that X amount of dogs will be out for 1 hour, then they're brought in, and the second group is brought out for another hour. So I got the impression it's going to be
It's not gonna be
all
continuous.
day long, and let's say we're sticking with the maximum number of dogs, it may not be, but the dogs will be out for that full from 7 a.m. to 7:30, but different groups of dogs, like maybe 5 dogs at one time. That's kind of how I understood it. Is that the intent? Or like you were saying, if you have 15 small dogs, the 15 will go out for that hour?
Yeah.
And then if you have 10 big dogs? So what, just explain what the intent is. Will it be continuing on a rotating basis, them out, or just?
No, It'll be, we'll say, an hour and a half in the morning, so you get 2 groups, maybe 2 hours. And then same thing at lunch and same thing in the evening. It won't be all day.
All day,
Continuous
okay.
dogs. And when they're out playing, they're not barking. You'll get a couple dogs that bark because they're playing. When they go inside, they want to be outside. That's when they bark, and that's when you get the noise.
Yeah.
But even then, it's not.
Yeah. And then if, let's say you have 20 large dogs, you know, again, as an example, but because they're large dogs, are you going to put them all out at the same time or then break that group up?
It depends on their temperament. So it'll be, so there's like the movable fence on
Yes.
on that site map where the day dogs are gonna be. They might be inside, and then I let 10 crazy ones go on one side and 10 on the other side, and 2 people are watching them, so we don't
Right.
take up all day
Okay.
of noise.
Okay.
I don't want to hear them either.
Right. So it's really, you plan on maybe like the maximum 2.5 hours in the morning, and then 2.5 hours lunchtime, and then in the.
Yeah,
towards
I would say that
late afternoon.
lunchtime is more of just a quick, get out, stretch your legs, go to the bathroom so they don't make a mess in the kennel, and then go back inside.
Okay,
And the
okay,
evening's more of a playtime.
okay. Okay. Now, to the fence that you're putting up,
Mhm.
what, the material that you put in between the fence so nobody can see in or out, what type of material is it? Is it going to have any soundproofing?
My understanding of soundproofing is it needs to be watertight to be functional. Me and Chris, the architect for this, were talking the other week about doing a double-walled wooden fence that's, 6 to 8 feet tall to kind of overlap the gaps, because you seam them, they get open up a little bit, but double-walled, so it
Yeah,
bounces off, and then,
yeah, so.
just to help with the noise.
Right,
To
so-
keep it
so-
up, and then they even had mentioned that you put cantilever towards the building, so it kicks up and bounces off the building, and the higher it goes, the quieter it's supposed to be.
Okay. Yeah, so it's not going to be the chain link that I was thinking.
I think we're gonna end up going towards some sort of wood fence, just
Yeah.
for more privacy, in case from
Yeah.
wildlife, and then people don't have to hear it as much.
And then you said it would be 6 to 8 feet. That was my next question. Okay. Okay, that's all I have for now.
Larry?
Actually, I have 2 questions for Adam. Based upon how he described that fence, is there any problem with that fence? Okay. My second question is, when did the ordinance pass? With the
Ordinance with that.
the one about the 2 acres? Just the year.
I would have to look. It may be in here, it may not. The code gets updated, not necessarily a whole section at a time. Let me look in the district regulations.
If it's okay, you can get back to me later. I'm just curious as to what year the concept of this whole 2.
Yeah, so, the most recent amendment to special use permits under commercial district was 2017, but that doesn't mean that it applies to the dog kennel. That, I would take some research, going back through old versions of the code to find out exactly when.
Well, don't go too much there. I'm just curious how old it is. I don't have any questions.
All right, Matt, questions, comments?
Yeah, a couple of questions. So you own the salon down the street, the other Bow Wow?
It's my mother's salon,
Okay,
yeah.
that doesn't do any overnight boarding or any boarding?
Correct.
Have you done boarding before, or is this your first location?
We've done the daycare there.
Okay.
It's the same, it's kind of the same concept of morning let-outs, noon, and then evening. So it's the same concept, except they don't stay the night.
Okay.
And we've had boarded a couple at our houses, but not to an extent where,
So then, like, the size of the play area outside, things like that, you don't have any concerns with the size being fairly small, like when you see dogs running, like the overall distance and the fact that you're stuck? Like, you buy this property, you put it in, you're stuck, like, you don't have any area really to, like,
Right,
expand or do anything, so if this turns out to not be enough space, like,
yeah, I don't see it being an issue. Trying to corral dogs in a giant space that don't want to come in is more of a problem than, you know what I'm saying?
understood, okay.
But they'll be able to run and stretch their legs and play. They play with each other. I mean, you could get 10, 15 dogs to play in this little area right here, and they'd be content. You know what I mean?
Yep, no, understood. Second question, what led to redesigning the kennels then, going from the 43 that we were given down to the 34?
It was more of just playing with numbers and seeing if we could have more indoor run around in inclement weather.
Okay.
Type of thing, like that, I want to say, I don't know how you would explain it, but you walk in from the rear of the building, straight in those 8 kennels.
Yep,
There would, instead of 2 rows, there might only be 1 row.
okay,
So there's more room to play, or getting rid of the 6 kennels when you walk in from the rear to the right. Those might not be kennels.
mm-hmm,
And I might double stack the 8 on the far end,
okay,
just for, I was just playing with it just to see what
okay.
makes sense.
So
That
you're
makes
s-
more sense in my head, that, nothing to do with the volume of dogs.
Okay, so you're still, so then the 34 inside then could still change, is what you're
I mean,
thinking, or,
it could, but I'd be okay with 34 in itself.
okay,
I mean, I could double up and have, we'll see, what's it? Yeah, I could end up with, yeah, the same amount. We'll say 35 to 40 kennels to be safe.
okay. And then my last thing, the initial letter of intent we got with the application states you're not making any changes outside the building. Your architect indicated that that probably wasn't accurate. Would kind of want to see what your concept was for the outside, because the way the letter made it sound like is your dog run is just going to be asphalt pavement,
Right.
which really didn't seem to be a good idea.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
no, so it's just with kind of wanting to see what you, based on what you're asking for the variance, since it's not like a specific, just one specific item, it's kind of open up the whole concept of it. We'll kind of want to see really what you'd be thinking. I mean, to be frank, I'm not right now very much in favor of, so I don't want you to have to do a lot of work, spend a lot of money, but getting that information to see what your thought would be helpful in still evaluating. I think everything, even if it was more like pictures or something else for the record, because right now our record says you're not making really any changes outside. It's just what your architect said when he submitted it.
I think what he meant was that we're not changing anything structurally to the building,
So
is my understanding.
this most recent version you submitted here shows the addition of 2 shed roofs off the back.
Right.
So you need to include, those aren't included in your site plan
Right.
for the planning board. They need to be on there. They need site plan approval. And that would be an alteration to the exterior of the building.
Okay, we don't
Just,
have to.
just so you,
Okay.
you're aware, if you want it, it needs to be on your site plan.
Okay,
But even going back, not planning on making any site or exterior building improvements, so that reads like the parking lot is all staying, versus like if you're gonna be removing all the pavement behind the building, putting in then like artificial turf or like or something else for the dogs, or you just thinking they're gonna be running on the asphalt pavement back there, just to try to get an understanding of what
I
your
plan
plan
on
is.
removing a bunch of it and putting artificial turf like you had mentioned.
Okay, so that would be information I think might be helpful as well in evaluating it.
Okay,
That too will need to be on your site plan for the planning board.
okay.
And it's likely based on this recent version that you just submitted that you're going to be required to install a sprinkler system because you're getting over 50% of the square footage of the building. So local law is going to require a sprinkler system to be installed.
Okay. 50% of the building for what? I'm sorry.
So if you make alterations to 50% of the square footage, the local law requires that a sprinkler system be installed in the building.
What altercations are 50%?
So this entire one side, the layout is altering. So you would count this entire half, plus there's portions of the other half where I can see walls are being removed and reconfigured. I'm not sure what the mezzanine, like how it exists right now, I've never been in there, but if there's more alteration up there, it's likely you're over 50% of the square footage.
Okay. Okay, I understand. Right. But the kennel site is all completely vacant at this
Wide open, yeah.
present time, so it's not changing anything. I'm just trying to understand it.
I don't have, right, and I don't have the building permit, that's why I'm saying it's likely, not definite.
Okay.
But the way I read this, it looks like walls being removed and walls being added, so that would be considered
Yeah,
reconfiguring of space.
On the right side, the salon side.
And on the kennel side, I'm looking at these dashed walls.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Usually those represent walls to be demolished. So,
Yeah, you're right, there's those two.
There's about 1,800 square feet of non-value-added mezzanine upstairs. Do you see the original floor plan?
right, that's what I
Yep.
said. I don't know if you're making any alterations
Yeah.
to the mezzanines either. I see the one that has like a break room on there. I don't know if
Yep.
that exists today or not. I haven't.
Yeah,
been
it's
up
there.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
without seeing the actual building plans, it's hard for me to say
Right.
yes. I
Yep.
just want to make you aware that it's a
I
possibility.
made a note for the architect so he knows
Okay.
about that.
I didn't have anything else. I was good.
That's right.
Just two comments that would maybe help. I didn't notice it before, but looking at the recent submittal of the site map, I don't know if it's the one that has they just recently.
Unfortunately, it's not on the.
Oh, it's not up there. Okay. Your fence gets close to the edge of the cattails as it's labeled. I see that the boxes check that it's near wetlands. I think the file could benefit from an environmental impact standpoint, what that usually edge of cattails could imply that that's the wetlands right there. I don't know what that wetland designation prevents in terms of buffer zone or something like that.
Would you need a delineation map?
I don't know exactly what it's one of the criteria is environmental impact.
Yep.
And so I see a fence. I don't know how far away that fence is getting to the edge of the cattails and if that would impact it. So just something that, if it's not me, maybe someone else would want to consider the wetland designation.
And
There's
that's something that would get brought up through the planning board as well. It can impact this board, but it's something that would have to be, that information is provided with your site plan application. So if there is a requirement for a wetland delineation, you'll be made aware of that.
Yep.
Based on what I saw, it's not on this parcel, it's on the adjacent parcel, and the fence wouldn't really impact it, but, because there's already a fence there.
Okay. And then the only other second thing, I don't want to speak for Larry, but I was going down a similar path of when the 2 acres was established. It's not totally relevant for the decision we make, but I just have no concept of what other municipalities like kennel expectation is. So I'm thinking of the feasibility or the impact. It'd be nice to know what like the expectation is for kennels, I guess, in other areas, just for it's never a really good idea to make a decision with only one point of reference, which would be your application. So just it could be an added information that would be helpful for us to understand what dog kennel. Other than that, I'm all set.
I'm hesitant about relying on other municipalities and what they do and how they do it. Because whatever their code is, that's up to them. As far as Victor's code goes, we do have a code that says a kennel, and qualifies as a kennel, needs to be on 2 or more acres. This board can think about why it is that code is like that. But it's pretty clear as far as zoning boards making a decision is not to completely gut the code on a provision, granting a variance if it's, for example, one of the criteria here is significant. Is the ask significant? Code says you need 2 acres and you're on 1, arguably that's significant. It's a large number. It's not feet, you're talking a whole acre.
Yeah, double.
Right, so you're asking for a big chunk. The code isn't very clear, though, on once you're over, Adam, is it 2? What triggers it to be a kennel, 2? Yeah, so once you're over 2, that creates then that qualifying for a kennel. So if it's 3 dogs, 30 dogs, 50 dogs, at some point, there's too many dogs on the parcel, or too many pets on the parcel. I'm concerned that the ask here is it's too much for that parcel. And I think the board's concerns here on how are you going to manage the dogs, what's the noise level. You do have businesses on either side. At one time, there was a restaurant. They're no longer there. Doesn't mean they can't be there. It's zoned. You have residential on your backside. You have another residential piece on across from 96. Yes, 96. The tires buzz. There's a number of factors that make this a challenging piece. So, if you, I think you got to think out of the box a little bit on what is. I think Patrick had said last time, pet safety. What is too much for a pet to handle as far as space goes? You can't confine them into little boxes and expect them to be okay for long periods of time. They need space. I'm not a pet expert. I don't know. But for example, you can't put a 100+ pound Great Dane in a kitty box. It's not going to happen, right? I'm being a bit facetious, but there's a point when what I'm trying to describe here is there's too many pets, or the pets are too large for the area that you're trying to accomplish. And business is great. I commend you for going after it. Mm-hmm. So finding a way to think out of the box. An idea, I'm not saying this is the be-all to end-all. You go to the SPCA and say, look, here's our plan. Victor is concerned, the code says you need 2 acres. We're only on 1 acre. This is how many pets are going to be here. This is our game plan. What do you think? Mm-hmm. If someone at the SPCA or a vet or somebody, it's okay. That's enough space. We would be okay with that. Or if they say, oh, no, that's too many.
Right.
I don't know. We're not here to do your research.
Mm-hmm.
So being creative at times, this helps. The decibel piece, we had asked for that before, but there needs to be that, as you call them, footnotes. Where did you get the information from? So that's an idea. Think
Mm-hmm.
of other ideas on how you can calm the board on the concern about pet safety and neighbor safety. I should say safety, the noise level. Not. Go ahead. You had a question?
So the making you feel comfortable has to do with pet safety, right?
That's
From
one.
the board's perspective, I'm just trying to get my hands around what I'm.
Safety might be a stretch on it. There's a reason why that code is there.
Right.
Why did those writers, the town board eventually says, yeah, this is how it's going to be. If you want a kennel, it needs to be on 2 acres plus. Well, why did they do that? I don't know. They're not here, and my guess is that provision in the code is more than 10 years old. And Adam, look back a little bit. It's a bit of a guess. So those people that wrote the code are no longer here. So we have to try and figure out, well, why is that? Might be the noise, because they do. I know that I have a dog, and when we're around, the dog is quiet, doesn't do anything. As soon as we're gone, yep. They do that. Different dogs do different things. You have to manage all of these animals. That may have been one of the concerns that the town board had on putting too many animals in one place in a light industrial district isn't a great idea. So you need space for them.
So the adjacency is obviously important. I think we've been mindful for that too, in terms of what are the uses, to the east, to the west, to the north, to the south. And we're very cognizant that, just to the west is a development through that buffered area of the cattails. And I know Mario's out doing sound decibels testing, got readings, got some metrics on that, just because it's important, because people are going to think dogs are loud, but what does that mean? From a decibel, from an ordinance standpoint, what is the threshold, right? So some of the science that he brought that wasn't footnoted, what does that all mean? Doesn't mean anything to anybody until you know the impacts, right? So you've got,
Yeah, I had a decibel reader. Through a speaker, I played it, got 110 decibels from a dog barking on a loop for 2 hours. I was over there an hour ago, 2 hours ago. The road, I got to the roadside, and you couldn't even hear the dogs, let alone get a reading, because the cars just overpowered it. And this was like 6 o'clock.
Where were you taking this from?
in front of the subject property.
Yeah, in front of the property.
Okay.
And I put the speaker in the back where the dogs would be running around in the overnight kennel area. And then we went to the north, where the pharmacy is, stayed there. You could hear them,
Yeah.
but I couldn't get a reading on it because the cars were overpowering.
Did you,
And I went behind it.
I don't want to push storybook
Go
in
ahead.
front of the bus right here, but from time to time, I have patronized Burger King, and being in that parking lot, I can hear those dogs.
I want to say that those dogs are indoor, outdoor. They were indoor, outdoor dogs.
They're outside, so you have one dog, then two, then 10, and I don't know how many are there, but I can hear multiple dogs going, and it's in close proximity to a restaurant area, a public area, that it's going to travel beyond your acreage. That's, I think, the board's concern is the noise level will travel beyond your acreage.
But it's below, well, it was 40 decibels, which is normal
Okay.
ambient sound.
I don't
I'm
know
not-
how the board is going to feel about,
Sure.
is 5 too much? Is 100 too much? Is that,
Oh, the town, I'm
the
sorry.
litmus test here is it going to change the character of the neighborhood?
Right. There is a threshold with the noise ordinance in the town, correct?
I would have to ask Adam on that one.
Yes, there is a threshold. I think, to Mike's point, he's just, from the zoning board's perspective, it's whether or not it's changing the character of the neighborhood, not whether or not it complies with the sound ordinance.
Right. So, just so you know, to finish the loop on the testing that he did, he went over to the residential section behind to the west. What was that reading?
It was 45 or 50 decibels,
50 decibels.
but they don't.
But you don't understand what the benchmark of 50 decibels is, right? So,
Yeah.
all things controllable and the same inputs in terms of where the barking was and where we took the readings. I think it's important for people to understand what that means, and getting the printout doesn't mean anything either. So,
We've had, go ahead, finish.
so I think in the big picture, this ask for a variance is variances are asked for everything, for height, for side setback, front setback. So we have to prove that it's not a detriment. And I guess we're trying to prove that by these field tests and I think understanding what boarding is. Understanding he's the expert in boarding. We're not, so. So I think, I guess I'm going to go back to Chris and let him know of your trigger point concerns and see if we can't tighten up some of those
we've had all different kinds of experiences here. For a comparison example, there was an applicant over Anthony Drive.
Yep.
They're not there anymore, but they wanted to repair machines, and all the work we finally figured out was done inside. And only noise that was coming out of there, and they did decibel readings, but they had a limited time. They were open from 9 to 5, some business hour, and at night, they weren't disturbing anybody. The lights are off and they're gone. I got to imagine with a kennel that when you're not there and you're locking the place down, are they barking? Are they not? And does a bear growl in the woods? I don't know.
Safe to assume, right?
Right. You think it might.
From the little bit of boarding that we've done, they do bark when you close down, right? They have to. They got to calm down. But usually, I'm not going to say an exact time, but half hour, 45 minutes, they calm down. And you're talking about inside of a building where it's all contained, and there's baffles to absorb noises anyway. So the after hours is not, in my opinion, it's not an issue for the noise. I'd say it's more of an issue of having them run around where neighbors are going to get annoyed during the daytime, normal business hours.
Yeah, we can't solve the problem for you. Right? You know what the criteria is. Chris being an architect, I mean, you're familiar with it. And you just, I caution you not to just say, it won't change the character of the neighborhood, period. Why? It's up to you to tell us why. You know that there's dogs, you know that they're going to bark. Giving us some idea of why you don't think it won't change the character of the neighborhood, or the ask is not substantial, or there is really no other way in order for that business to be there but for getting a variance. And that's an easy one. You need a variance.
Right.
There's no way around. It's not like a fence where you can manipulate it and push it in 5 feet. And I think your two big talking points are, is it going to change the character of the neighborhood, and is it or is it not a significant ask? Make sense?
Totally makes sense.
Okay, good.
We get it.
Mike, I did have two
Go
other
ahead.
things. One, and I don't know how far, there are sound noise engineers out there that you can hire. They can then do readings, background readings. There are state DEC levels as well that say what noise is perceptible. They can do readings and they can actually model it out. So that could be something you provide that actually shows how, from an expert in the field, then actually what they have done and how the noise is actually impacting or not impacting the adjacent neighbors. My second question, Mario, is once you found out that this needed a variance and it didn't meet the code, did you guys look at like, I will say, like, I am very much in favor of trying to get a vacant building back in business, keeping someone, I would love to try to get there, I would. Did you see if there was any other properties in Victor that met the 2-acre requirement that you would be able to use for this without the need for a variance?
At the time of this place popping up, I had not seen anything. Not to say that something hasn't popped up that I don't know about.
Well, you have your brokers, so
I'm,
that might be something else, like, not that
Right.
it's part of the criteria, but just understanding, like, I've looked, and I wanted to meet the code. There is nothing else I could even do this at right now. It's just
So,
additional
yeah.
information.
Fair question. In the town of Victor, he obviously wants to stay where he is now. There really isn't, and if you know, based on your zoning experience, you have to be in the zoning district that'll allow it. We've had 2 businesses in there that have not made it in the last 5 years. One was COVID-stricken, Code 2, moved out, weren't even open for a year and a half on a 5-year lease. So there's space out there. The adjacencies are not conducive for this type of use. We felt because the adjacencies here, from our perspective, were going to be less impacted than what you're telling us in terms of, the buffer between the properties and the road and whatnot, and the fact that it's light industrial zone now. There's only so many areas of Victor you can go to put something like this in. I've got a building on Railroad, would love to put them there, but we've got a adjacent tenant downstairs that wouldn't want that use. So trying to fill the Mickey Finn space. So, you know, there are challenges, and I think trying to find out when that code was written is kind of interesting to me, because it could be, who knows, back in the 90s, early 2000s, and the proliferation of this type of use has really grown. And some of the spots are a little bit too big, I think, but for the most part, it worked for them here in the town, in the village, and we thought this building would have a chance, honestly, based on the way it's set up in the location. Thanks.
I think that would help. I think that would help feasibility for me. And the luxury is I get to sometimes disagree with Mike, and I would say, while we can't use it as our determination, I do think looking at other towns is an important measure for us. We don't know if this 2 acres was made in a vacuum. We don't know. We're guessing at what the logic was. So I think it's important if the ordinance isn't relevant anymore, we should know what other ordinances are. Doesn't mean it's going to change the decision.
You can't rewrite it. You
can't-
absolutely, you can't rewrite it.
I'm not looking to rewrite it, but I think you can. I think you can take a look at it.
You know,
Not even the code, understanding what other would provide for an outdoor area, like how big of an outdoor area does the typical boarding place actually provide? Like Mike was saying, like from the SPCA or something, is there a business group that for kennels, it's like you should have for each dog, you need to make sure you have 100 square feet, 200. I have absolutely zero idea what goes into designing a kennel at all, but do they say, well, for overnight, you should have a 10 by 10 space for dogs over 50 pounds? Getting an understanding of how the design goes from the actual business group or whatnot, to see is this building even in the area that you're providing sufficient? Because as you're saying 15 dogs outside possibly running around with 50 by 15 or 20 feet is sufficient. I honestly, that's for me, I have no idea. The only image I have is growing up as a kid with our dog who had the whole backyard to run around. So getting a better understanding of kind of what goes into this and what's out there for business groups putting it together would definitely be helpful.
Right.
Just to see.
I agree with you. I think that's having what the industry group would say is a bit more important to me than what, let's say Farmington would say, or Pittsburgh, because that's,
Yeah,
we're not them, we're Victor. And I understand what you're saying, but having the industry group or the ASP, or anybody who does this for a living, saying, hey, this is the standard we use, and if you've got that standard, then at least that portion of it makes us more comfortable.
I would also suggest it's not a mandate, it's just a thought. This is complicated stuff, right? There's case law all over New York State. Every municipality is different. It just depends on how bad you want this to happen. Most, I don't want to call them experts, but those knowledgeable in the field, oftentimes attorneys who go to zoning meetings, who know zoning law, who know municipal law, they know how all these pieces work and what change in the character of the neighborhood, all those criteria, what all those mean, what the board can consider, what it can't consider, right? Using your resources is another way to try and figure out how to solve your problem. What do you need to show the board to convince them, persuade them to grant the variance? Right. I told this to somebody a few months ago, and he said, "You made me get an attorney." I didn't make you do anything. All right, it's just a suggestion. Just use your experts, use your people in the know on how this stuff works. Okay. Anybody else? Questions, concerns?
I just have one question for Adam. Back to this colored map where it shows the building And to the immediate left, you know, the property that's between this building marked 7235 and 7249, where it shows like a pond, and I think it's wetlands.
You're
also
talking
next
to the west?
Northwest.
To the west, yeah, northwest.
Okay.
Is that wetlands?
I think that is, there is a wetland there. I believe it's just a federal, not a DEC wetland.
Oh.
So I'd have to look at the GIS layer, but I think the wetland's on the adjacent parcel.
And so being that it's wetlands, they really can't, no, even that property owner can't expand or build on it. And I know with federal wetlands, yeah, if you take a portion of wetlands, you have to replace it.
What's not necessarily prohibited, it requires permitting, so
Okay.
that's up to the Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay. All right, we're all set?
Good?
Just officially, anyone want to speak for or against the application? No. Susie, nobody online? Good. All right. You guys are all set over there? Good, okay.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for your
Yep,
time
thanks
and
for your time.
patience. Good discussion. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else for the board?
Move to adjourn?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks so much. So if you guys want to, another time, just